Hey guys, how was Mountain Men? I think Mountain Men are so much fun, but we are moving on. So now we're going to be talking about people actually moving in large groups to the West. So before we start talking about this, we have to talk about the mindset behind it because there is a whole movement that talks about all of society wanting to move west, and it's called Manifest Destiny. So, with this manifest destiny, you'll learn about it in US history in high school. But it's this idea, this movement where people just decide that the country's right, the country's God-given gift is to expand from sea to sea. So in order for that to happen, they have to fill in all of this middle part. So they're going to be going, a ton of them are going to be going to California. That's going to be where it all starts. Then they're going to slowly fill in the middle part as well because they believe that it's their right and it's their duty as Americans to have their country be coast to coast. So, as all of America starts to do this, they get really, really excited about it. And this is where all of the energy of the country is going to go. This is why we're going to start to see trains and telegraphs and telephones and stuff to connect it all. So, it all starts with this manifest destiny, this idea, this movement, this motion behind it. Okay, so we are going to talk for just a minute about this place, this party. It's called the Bidwell Barrelson Company. The Bidwell Barrelson Company is really similar to Juan Rivera. Do you remember when we talked about Juan Rivera? Juan Rivera is the first non-native to come into Utah. Remember, he kind of slipped in on the side off the Colorado border, hung out, looked for silver, and left again. And he didn't really do anything else. And then Dominguez and Escalante came in. So we give Juan Rivera credit, but that's about it. Same with this Bidwell Barrelson Company. So they're the first known wagon train to come and travel through Utah. They don't stay in Utah, but they're the first one that travel through Utah. A couple of funny things on their way. First of all, their slogan was, "It's so easy a woman could do it." Okay, let that sink in for a second. Super degrading, yes, absolutely. Appropriate for how people acted at the time, okay, fine. But it's just their way of saying, it's so easy I could do it in my sleep. They were really big on only telling the good part of it. They didn't talk about any of the bad parts because they didn't want to discourage people from moving west. Okay, so that's really all we're going to talk about them. We know that they came through Utah. Is it possible that another company came through before them? Yeah, it's possible. But this is the first known wagon train that went through Utah. They're on their way to California. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about this guy named John C. Fremont. He has the nickname the Pathfinder. First of all, we talked about Trailblazers and how that was a vehicle name, right? They pulled that and they made it a vehicle name because it's this really cool thing, this really big thing that no one had done before. Notice his nickname's a Pathfinder. That's also a car's name. Okay, they like to pull vehicle names from stuff like this. So pay attention to stuff like that. There's little history things all throughout the world, which is really cool if you know about it and know where to look for it. Okay, so John C. Fremont, he actually worked for the Army. He was a map maker. And this is what you're looking at on your screen is a picture of him and one of the maps that he made. He was married at 15 years old. Oh, just kidding. He married a 15-year-old. He was not 15. He married a 15-year-old. He was like in his mid-30s. He married a senator's daughter. He's like, you know what? This is going to be where I'm going to get a lot of power. With that, the senator then sent him to go explore all the way to Oregon because people are wanting to go to Oregon. So he does 5 expeditions. He goes through Utah and he traveled the Oregon Trail. On his way through the Oregon Trail, he made incredibly detailed maps. That's the one that's down there in the corner, is one of the maps that he made about the Oregon Trail. Okay, I want you to think for a second. What in the world, what benefits would people have if they had this map? A map that's detailed by someone who has been to all of those exact places. Why would that be beneficial? Well, if you look really close, you'll notice that it has where trees are, where hills are, where water is. Is that going to make it easier to know how far you should go in a day? Where would be a good place to settle for the night? Absolutely. This is like invaluable to those people who are going about this way. Okay, John C. Fremont, he went through Utah. Does that name sound familiar from our Native American unit? It should, because there's a Fremont tribe. We named the Fremont people after him because we don't know what they called themselves, because remember, they're prehistoric, which means that they have no written history. So we have no idea what they called themselves, but we named them the Fremont tribe because of this guy. Because he was there, he found a lot of it, he was exploring through that region. Okay, one of the big things he was looking to do is he was trying to find a water route from Salt Lake to California. Now, is there a water route from Salt Lake to California? Think about that for a minute. Is there a water route from Salt Lake to California? The answer is no, there's not. So he's exploring all of these things and he doesn't ever find it because it doesn't exist. Okay, one of the things that I want you guys to write down on your notes, I know this isn't one of the questions, but on that question that says, who is John C. Fremont? He's an explorer. He's a map maker. He does all of these things, but he did something else that I want you to write down. That map that he made on the Oregon Trail, accompanied with it, he also wrote a 207-page report on that trip. 207 pages. Now, if you were without cell phone, no such thing as internet, no such thing as even a post office to get information back, would a 207-page report be useful? Yes, absolutely. Okay, so he had 207-page report, so make sure that you add that in there. Okay, he also came through Cache Valley on his second trip. That first trip he wrote the report, the second trip he came through Cache Valley. This is a map of all of his trips through. So there's clear over from the Mississippi. That's on the right side of your screen. And notice this takes like 20-ish years. Just under 20 years. Look how far he went. This is all on foot or on horseback. That is more than a lot of you have traveled, right? Okay, so he's gone incredibly far. He's a little insane, but he does it. Okay, so he also ends up looking for a route for the railroad. So he's got a lot of different things that he does along with this. Okay, so as far as the routes that people are going, these routes are some that we're going to look at in the next couple of days. So this map is going to be really useful. So if you want to take note of this, this will be a really good one for you to come back and take a look at. Okay, there's this guy whose name is Lansford Hastings. And what he's doing is he's trying to find a shorter way for people to get to California. So if they're coming along the Oregon Trail, which is the purple one, once the purple one, you see how it kind of dips down a little bit? Fort Bridger is right there on that inside bottom corner of Wyoming. Then from there, it goes up north and around, which goes through South Pass. Remember how I told you South Pass was important? It's because it's a super easy place for wagons to get through the Rocky Mountains. From there, they can drop back down, get on the California Trail, and make it over there. But this guy named Lansford Hastings, he's like, hey, I found an easier way. Look at this. If you go to Fort Bridger and then just cut straight across, you are going to save yourself so much time. You're going to save yourself so much energy. And look at it. It's perfect. It's going to work out great. Here's the thing. He never took it himself. He never actually went on this. But what he did do is he wrote a guide. It's called the Immigrant's Guide to Oregon. He also wrote the Immigrant's Guide to California. On that guide, he put exact details on how to do this without ever having done it by himself. Okay, have any of you ever done a hike in Logan Canyon? Let's just say the Wind Caves. Have you said, oh yeah, do the Wind Caves, it's an easy hike? That's what I heard, and so I went and hiked the Wind Caves when I was in college. I'm not a big hiker, and so by the time I got to the end, I was like dying. They're like, see, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, not bad is relative. This was really bad for me. So just imagine that. This is incredibly dangerous. Okay, so at least five pioneer groups took this. So miles wise, yes, it's shorter to take Hastings Cutoff than it is to go north and then all the way up there on that purple trail, and then drop back down to the California trail. But it's a longer time frame. It's a lot more dangerous, and it's a little ridiculous. Okay, so this is a picture of some of the places that you have to cross if you are going to go through Hastings Cutoff. Imagine taking your wagon there on those trails with those steep cutoffs. Imagine if your horse or your oxen lost its footing. Okay, incredibly dangerous. Once Hastings figured out how dangerous it was, he left a note at Fort Bridger that said, "Don't go on this trail. It's incredibly dangerous. I'll come and meet you. I'll take you myself the other way." But a lot of them saw this note and they're like, meh, whatever, and they took it anyways. Okay, we're going to talk about this group called the Donner Reed Party. A lot of you have probably heard about the Donner Party, one and the same. I'm going to start a second video for you guys to watch about this just because it gets so intense. But this is who we're going to be talking about. They took Hastings Cutoff.